question, but answers you with a question, and that is my challenge tonight is to make sure that our sports teams are having the same mentality. They need to be implementing the testing strategy if someone is showing those signs. And I know how kids are. We all wanted to get out there and play the game no matter what because that made us look tough and it gave us the edge, but this is a different situation. So I hope in the same sports arena we're having the same organized testing strategies that I know the schools in general are implementing. I haven't heard anything to the contrary. So my understanding and answer to that question is yes, they're testing based on symptoms. And there have only been a few positives to my knowledge in town. I do have numbers to back up from the state, but I don't want to take up too much time. So that is going on. Well, if I have no further questions, I really appreciate y'all's time. I appreciate everyone's attentiveness. And I will be in the background working forward with Dr. Stefanski, Superintendent Richard, and anybody in the community who has any concerns, questions. 3 months from now, we're going to have new questions. I'll have old answers to the questions that we have today. But as I said, if we move forward as a community, I think we can make a much more efficient and expeditious impact in terms of surpassing what the virus can do to us. So thank you all again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Albert. Ms. Patricia and Mr. Andrew Goto.
Mr. and Mrs. Roto?
Mr. Goto. Mrs. Goto.
My name is Patricia Gotro. This is my husband, Andrew Gotro. We reside at 814 West 9th Street.
It's all right.
It's on.
Just trying to speak about that.
Okay. We're here on behalf of my brother, Anthony Joseph Pizzolato, who lives at 905 Northwestern Avenue. He's 82 years old and with several health problems and unable to be here himself. We live directly behind him. Back in September or October of last year, 2019, we contacted the city about a pine tree that's on his property on the corner. We talked with the mayor, also about it. Eventually, Mr. Brett Spell came out to measure. It was determined that only half of the tree was on city property, and they refused to cut it down. During Hurricane Delta, a good part of the tree broke off, took off the front porch completely of the house, the electric line, and that. If the city would have removed this tree, this wouldn't have happened. He lives on a fixed income. He has insurance. His deductible is $5,175. A good part of the tree is still remaining. We ask that the remainder of the tree be removed and that his deductible be paid. So the house can be fixed back to where it was.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Martin.
All right, ma'am, you want to clarify, you said that Brent Spell would look at the tree and said half the tree is on city property and half the tree is not?
He measured the tree from where the tree is to Western.
Well, either it's on or it's not. That determination right there can only be made by someone that has credentials to
When he
measure.
measured it, he got on the middle of Western and neutral ground. He just eyeballed the center of the street.
Did he use it, what type of measuring mechanism did he
He used a
use?
tape measure.
A tape measure.
Yeah, big ruler. Probably 100 foot, 150 foot.
Okay, well, the question, I happened to go out, and Brad, did you get a phone call today?
Yes, I
Okay.
I get the pictures.
All right. Fact of the matter is, a tape measure, yeah, that's about right. Unless you have, how many people came out?
Two. Somebody else, I don't remember his name.
Okay, and they determined that half the tree was on city property and half was not. That's not what I said. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna turn it over to Byron and Brad to see, because y'all had a conversation about it.
Yes, I received the picture of the tree in your front porch today from Alderman Miltridge. And because the top of the trees were broke
Yes,
off.
it's split off.
And
That's what
crushed up
happened.
the
It's
entire
split,
front porch.
yes. The wind split it.
But at least half of it is gone.
And so what you're asking is that the balance of the tree be removed. Obviously,
Correct.
it's significantly damaged and probably will die. And then determining where the tree is, it's kind of hard without
I'll have
a surveyor going out there.
Exactly.
I have a picture of the property marker and the tree.
Brad, you see something white on the side of the tree?
Yeah, that's what we did at the beginning. If I may interject, Mr. Andrew, back when Mr. Brent went over and measured, that was also a decision that was made by legal, our city attorney. Now, we can gather these pictures and this information that you have, go out there and take some more pictures, and we can send it to legal again, and let Mr. Reagan to make his determination on that. And then also, because of the storm that took it out, it also has to be made by the insurance company who makes the decisions on behalf of us. So just to let y'all know, that's the way that it works. But we can, in fact, bring it up again, go out there and look at it, go do what we have to do, and then let Mr. Reagan, again, look at it. And then we can also bring it up to the insurance company, who also makes those claims for us.
Well, we just feel that if it would have been taken care of originally,
We wouldn't have this
we
problem
wouldn't
now.
have this problem now. So,
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Twinkle?
Thank you, Mayor. Is Mr. Anthony still able to live in the house?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. The main part of the house
Is okay?
is okay, yes. It's just that it just, when it fell, the roof of the porch is a gabled roof, and so it just hit, it just came flat, came down. Now, we were able to remove the tree and all that. Now, the adjusters are coming out tomorrow to determine damage in that. But he still has to be conducted. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you coming. Thank you so much.
Mr. and Mrs. Gotro. Okay. Next, agenda minutes. Okay, approval of the minutes, BOLO, A, B, and C, special council meeting held on August 25th, 2020, special council meeting held on August 31st, 2020, regular council meeting held on September 9th, 2020.
Approve it,
Offered by Mr. Martin, seconded by Mr. Prater. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And then we'll move to our sales tax report. Sales tax report, we have a decrease of 4.41%. Hopefully, we'll continue to have increases in the future with our growth. I don't know if everyone heard, but I think Mr. Fogelman was showing the plans around last week about the subdivision heritage trace that's going to be coming about. And there'll be approximately 80 homes in that particular subdivision. And we're looking very forward to that. And we're very excited having those, that subdivision come in. Next is our user fee chart. Okay, and that's the number that was compared to last year, and that's the only number we have so far. 41% increase. And again, that's the only number we have in comparison of last year. So we're looking forward to next month again. All right, next is our budget analysis. That was toward the end of the year. We should be at 100%. You'll see the numbers all the way to the right. And that one particular number, that big number, is with the infrastructure that we were trying to amend at that one time. Okay. We'll move into our standing committee report. Public Works Committee, Mr. Craig.
Thank you very much, Mayor. The Public Works Committee convened Wednesday, October 7th, 2020 at 4 p.m. in the council chambers, and a quorum was present. Under action items, a motion was offered by myself and seconded by Alderman Brad Ford to approve partial payment estimate number 4 to Sutherland Constructors Incorporated for the citywide drainage improvements project in the amount of $149,352.60. And that motion carried, and I so move.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Crater, seconded by Mr. Martin. Discussion? All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry, Mr. Cabell.
I'd like clarification. We're approving partial payments, which is a good thing, but can we actually pay them?
Yes. At this point, yes, but not too many more of those until we approve the budget.
Okay.
Point of order.
Point of order?
Well, a question. It is a point of order.
Yes, sir.
You just had the chair of finance ask a question of something that can be paid. Isn't this money dedicated money? It's coming out of dedicated fund, correct?
Yes.
Okay, well, that money better be. Okay, that makes that clear. It better be.
I'm sorry.
It's not the fact that the money's not there. It's not.
Yeah. Like she said, it's not the fact that the money's not there, it's just not appropriated. So you have to appropriate it by that, but we'll get into that.
His question was, can we pay it? That was his question.
Exactly what I was intended. Not out.
Okay,
Okay, under non-action items,
I'm sorry.
so we still going?
We have to vote, I apologize.
We got both.
No, we didn't vote. Okay, it was offered by Mr. Craig, seconded by Mr. Martin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Sorry about that, okay. Under non-action items, the Public Works Director, Mr. Albert John, presented the monthly Public Works report. The Street Commissioner, Mr. Gilbert Ozine, presented the monthly Street Department report. And City Engineer, Mr. Tim Mader, presented the monthly Engineers report. Some work orders are not being received by members of the council, and updates on work orders and/or completions of the same are not being received either. The mayor explained the issue is the old software, which is going to be replaced soon. There was no further business to come before the Public Works Committee, and the committee recessed.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Utility Committee, Mr. Martin.
Utility Committee convened Wednesday, October 2nd, quorum was present.
Right.
Turn your mic on.
Utility Committee convened Wednesday, October 7th, 2020 at 4 p.m. And quorum was present. Under action items, a motion was offered by Alderman Jeff Carriello and seconded by Alderman Lyle Fogman to authorize a resolution for the mayor and board of Aldermen of the city of Crowley, Acadia Parish, Louisiana. Introducing the proposed ordinance and calling for a public hearing to amend and reenact section 10-30, Division 1.5, sewer service user fee charge of Article 2 of Chapter 10 of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Crowley to amend the sewer user fee and charges set forth therein, to repeal all ordinances or part of ordinances contrary thereto or in conflict therewith, to provide for the provisions thereof to be servable, and to provide for all matters relative thereto. Motion carried on that.
Offered by Mr. Martin,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Cavell. Discussion? And again, this is just to be able to set a date for the public hearing. And, sorry, discussion? Okay, Mr.
Mr. Mayor, we have that small change that had to do with the out of town.
Yes, sir, you should.
That should be brought up this evening as this goes forward. And I can explain it, if I may.
Go ahead.
If you'll recall, the post-signal reporter Desiree So asked a question in the committee last week. The question concerned the fact that in a certain consumption range, the out-of-town customers would actually pay a slight bit less than the in-town customers, because we have raised the bar for the in-town customers, but haven't changed the out-of-town customers. The reason for that is I'll tell you, I just believe that the out-of-town customer rate scale was so high that that would never be exceeded. To remedy that, what we wanted to add or change to the ordinance is where the ordinance says that in the utility service area, customers outside the corporate limits, we want to except for the sheriff's office, shall pay for wastewater discharge for the first 3,000 gallons or less a base user fee of $22.50, which is the same amount as always been. We want to change that 3,000 figure to 1,000, and that helps us flip it back the way we wanted, was that the out-of-town customers would have a higher rate than the in-town customers. And that has to be changed at two places. In paragraph 3, which I just read part of, in paragraph 4, the 3,000 is mentioned again about the rate per thousand. So again, in paragraph 3, in paragraph 4, I don't have a page number here, but I believe it's like third to last page on the back. In those two paragraphs, the number 3,000 would change to 1,000 in both of those sections. And so that's being offered as an amendment to what was offered last Wednesday.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation.
So, sorry, the number 3 relates to the detention center? Is that what, make sure I look at?
Well, number 3 talks about out-of-town customers, and what we had worked out with the sheriff was to exempt the sheriff's office, because there's no need to entice the sheriff to come into the court service. And he was going to consider actually disconnecting from the city sewage system that would have caused a significant decrease in the revenue for the city, and he was going to build his own sewer plant, et cetera, which I don't think he really wanted to do, because that's expensive first cost and it's expensive for maintenance and repertoire. So the sheriff is willing to abandon any thought of disconnecting if he can get that exemption.
So
Sure.
what paragraph again?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was just trying to distinguish between 3 and 4, and I didn't.
Are you reading 3 and 4? It says in the utility service area, customers outside of corporate limits.
Right.
What's the difference between that?
3 is setting the base rate, and 4 is setting the rate per thousand.
Okay, I'm sorry, thank you. That's what I thought, what I was asking initially.
this is gonna be taken up at the public hearing?
Yes, what we're asking is that what is taken up at the public hearing is the ordinance, proposed ordinance with the change from 3,000 to 1,000.
Okay, but all that could be taken up at the public hearing, or do you need that to be, incorporated now, changes now?
Yes. That change should be incorporated now to express the council's consensus or intentions.
That's on you?
Thank you.
With the contingency, Mr. Mayor,
I'm sorry?
with the contingency,
Your mic is off now.
sorry. You said with the contingency? I couldn't hear what you said just a second.
What's the question again?
Of what Mr. Martin was asking, to take it up at public hearing.
Right, it should go into the public hearing the way you intended. If you intended to remain at 3,000, then that's the way it should go into the public hearing. If you intended to change it
Yes.
to 1,000, so we can flip back out-of-towner monthly cost versus in-towners, then you want that to go to.
Yes, and everybody should have their revised.
Yeah, you do have a revised version, and you have the one that you enacted last time. So if you go along with the revision, you have that revision in front of you.
That's good.
I'm sorry, I was vague.
We received this for the first time since we
Yeah, we don't
came to the meeting, we
get
didn't
this
get this
early.
before, so. Sorry for trying to figure out what's in front of us.
And if you have any questions, you'll have all for the month to be able to ask any questions. Because all we're doing is setting a public hearing date on, we'll have to do it on November 12th, November 11th, if you want to put it on your calendar. November 11th is our normal regular Wednesday's council meeting, but you can't have it on that day, you have to move it to the next day according to ordinance, and because it is Veterans Day. So we have to have it on the Thursday. For our meeting, and it should be in your packet. Our next scheduled meeting, city council meeting will be November 12th. Am I correct? The date? November 12th? Right, okay.
When did you plan the public
Okay.
hearing?
Yes.
So, Mr. Mayor, we just need to add to the motion, the revision, right?
You want to adopt the amended version.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to adopt the amended version.
Second.
Okay.
Wait, hold on, you have to go back to committee. That's committee.
It was discussed on committee.
But what I'm saying, what he's asking to do, he is changing out something that the committee approved. Okay? So therefore, if you're not on the committee, I don't think you are entitled to vote on this. Unless I'm mistaken, I don't think that, because Tim, what you're saying right here, the full council votes once the changes has been made. If I'm correct, and I believe I am to this. So I think we revert back to the utility committee for the change, and then the full council votes on the change. I think I'm correct with this, but,
If I may, when we discovered this, we took it to city attorney, and he told us this was the way to handle it, to come to the meeting and offer that change as an amendment to what was approved last week at committee. That's what he
that's
said.
what he said, good, that's fine, but I don't think so. Okay, that sounds good.
That's what he did say. Okay, so, by Mr. Primo, offered by Mr. Primo and seconded by Mr. Fuller. Discussion?
Can I thank Desiree for bringing this to
Oh,
our attention,
absolutely.
for her being attentive and for her inquisitiveness, and what led to a very important revision correction. Thank you, Desiree.
No problem.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Got that, Nate? Okay. All right, Mr. Martin?
Well, this last sentence, as chair, because I won't read anything like that into the archives of the city of Crowley. Go ahead, man, because I don't even know what admonish means, to be honest with you, it's crazy.
Under non-action items, wastewater superintendent Tim Crater presented the monthly wastewater report. City engineer Tim Mader presented the monthly engineer's report. Tracy Young addressed the committee as a member of the sewer user fee review committee and admonished the city for not doing their jobs. He thanked them for wasting his time on the sewer user fee review committee he was appointed to, and he chided the council for prolonging their responsibility to make the necessary decision to increase the sewer user fee to make the utility fund sustainable.
I wouldn't leave that.
Yeah.
Basically, proper order was, you could have refused to read it, because there's no such, I mean, this right here,
Putting that on there.
I
Gotta
mean,
stand for it
first of all-
once. We don't need it. That's cool.
first of all, to Mr. Tracy Young, with all due respect to him, if he didn't like what was going on at the meeting, he should have left.
Okay, it is a report we're reading.
We don't bring every.
Unfortunately, it's a report. It's a report that's given.
I can finish the report, but sometimes there's some stuff that's reported that's not in here either, that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Okay. All right, we'll continue, there's a draft of CenterPoint Energy.
Alderman Crater made a statement for the record that he will vote to authorize the sewer user fee increase, but only because he gave his word to Alderman Cavell that he would, if the LRWA report reflected an increase was needed. In addition, Alderman Crater wanted it known that he spoke to Rusty Reeves with LRWA, and he is of the opinion that Mr. Reeves lacked all the information to deliver a full report. The engineer noted Mr. Reeves was provided with all the information the sewer user fee review committee and the city's CPA used in the review. A draft of the CenterPoint Energy franchise agreement renewal was provided to the council and is being reviewed by the city attorney. Cleveland needs to be notified in order to replace burned out street lights in town, and there is no further business to come before utility committee and the committee recessed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Recreation Committee, Mr. Fremont?
I have a question.
Thank you.
Real quick. Did we say what time the public hearing was gonna be held on the 12th?
We voted to revise the ordinance, so we voted.
Did we say what time the public hearing was gonna be held?
It'll be right when the meeting, right before the meeting starts, at the meeting time.
I thought you said it was gonna be on Thursday.
That's the meeting. The meeting will be at 12, and the public hearing will be right before the meeting.
So we have to change our regulation.
All right. Recreation Committee.
Recreation Committee met Wednesday, October 7th. There were no action items. Under non-action items, Peter Kirsch, Recreation Director, was absent. I presented the Director's monthly Recreation Department report. Tim Mader, City Engineer, presented his monthly engineer's report. There was no further business to come before Recreation, and the committee recessed.
Thank you. Zoning and annexation, Mr. Fogelman.
Thank you, Mayor. Zoning and annexation convened Wednesday, October 7th at 4 p.m. All members were present. Under action items, a motion was offered by myself and seconded by Alderwoman Kim Stringfellow to approve contingent upon approval of City Attorney Tom Reagan and City Engineer Tim Mader, the favorable recommendation by the City of Crowley Planning Commission for the preliminary plat for Harvest Trace subdivision, which Planning Commission approval includes a recommendation of a waiver of the city's subdivision regulations calling for a dead-end street to have a cul-de-sac of a minimum of 47-foot radius in favor of a hammerhead or T-type turnaround upon approval of the City of Crowley Fire Department. The motion carried, and I so move.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Fogelman, seconded by Ms. Stringfellow. Discussion. Mr. Crater.
Yes, are these gonna be just lots being sold, or is this gonna be some kind of, housing developments put in there, or anything like that? You know, anybody know the answer to that? Are they just selling lots, or are they actually gonna build some of these houses and put them up?
From what I understand, and I would be glad to be corrected if I am incorrect, by either Mr. Henskin or Mr. Trumbull. They're gonna build houses, and they're gonna range anywhere from 160 to about approximately $200,000.
They're gonna build.
Or they're contractors, or they're subcontractors. Ms. Stringfellow?
Yes. Did Mr. Reagan get a chance to look over everything? Because it says contingent upon him looking over. Contingent upon approval for him. He did.
Well, the normal process is that if we check the plat for compliance in format with the ordinance, we also get with the developer's engineer to make sure that what they intend to build before we get construction plans is all consistent with the ordinance. And once that's done, we advise Mr. Reagan, and then he makes his approval after he gets word from us. And we met with Mr. Henskins and Mr. Trumbull on the next day, actually, Thursday, and we ironed out everything. So just now it's a matter of Mr. Reagan signing off on it, and then the Plan Commission Secretary, Sarah, will send a letter to the developer saying, please send us your construction plans. It's moving quickly.
Okay, any discussion? All right. It was offered by Mr. Fogelman, seconded by Ms. Stringfellow. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Under non-action items, City Engineer Tim Mader presented the monthly engineering report. There being no further business to come before Zoning and Annexation Committee, the committee recessed.
Thank you. Public Safety, Mr. Core.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to point out on the agenda, item E, number 1, states no action items. It should be deleted, the word no. Just want to point that out.
Yes. Action items of the alcohol, yes, beer permit.
The Public Safety Committee convened Wednesday, October 7, 2020, at 4 p.m. in the council chambers. A quorum was present. A motion was offered by myself and seconded by Alderwoman Kim Stringfellow to approve the following 2020 beer and liquor licenses. Under new, Laura Wilder, on behalf of APLAW Enterprises, address is 322B Southeastern Avenue, for a 2020 Class A retail beer permit and a 2020 Class A retail liquor permit. The motion carried, and I so move.
Offered by Mr. Core, seconded by Ms. Stringfellow. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, before you continue, if you look on your, there's item number 2,
Yes.
and that's because it's an action item that requires a vote.
On item number 2 on the agenda, to consider the mayor's appointment of fire chief. This did not go to committee, and at this time I will turn it over to the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Core. I just wanted everybody to know that there were 8 people who then went through the process, take the test, we did the interviews. I want to tell you that we are very blessed to be able to have 8 people to be able to take that test. And of course, it's a very difficult decision. There were 4 people that I chose from that 8, and I would like to begin with the first one. This gentleman, is Mr. Luis Romero. He has some training. He is a captain. He's been with the department for 20 years and 11 months. He has been designated as a trainer, and he has trained a little bit in the budget. And I'm going to offer Mr. Luis Romero and to be your new fire chief. And I'm just asking you for a vote, either yay or nay. Yes, ma'am, it will be a roll call vote. It'll be a roll call.
Is Mr. Romero here?
Yes, he is.
Jeff Cavell,
Yes.
Again, we gotta get discussion about this.
Okay.
I'll say something?
We'll get a discussion.
Can I say something? Just to let y'all know that there's 4 of us here that the mayor is bringing up. If you vote yes for the first one, he is the chief. If you don't vote for the first one, he's gonna bring the second one up. If you vote yes for the second one, then that one's the chief.
That's how
If
this
that doesn't work, he'll bring the third one up. If you vote yes for the third one, then that one's the chief. Just to let you know that whoever you're voting for, that's the chief.
You're supposed to make a recommendation.
Yeah.
I am making a
You're
recommendation.
recommending 4 people?
No, sir, I'm recommending one person.
So this
At a
is
time.
your first
One
pick?
person, this is my first pick, yes, sir. That is the recommendation that I'm making at this point. Roll call. Oh, I'm sorry.
Has the salary and so forth been acceptable to the one that you just appointed? I'm just assuming that if we go forward and they accept or they don't, then what's the next phase?
Then if they do not accept the salary, then we have to have a special meeting to appoint another. Okay? Ms. Trinko.
Thank you, Mayor. Last meeting, we spoke about, we missed a deadline. That doesn't take into effect. That's just you making your decision, right? The civil service deadline, it was October 11th.
That didn't come into play, no ma'am. I've already checked with that room.
Okay.
That did not come into play.
And do we, so you wouldn't tell us the other names until after?
I am making this appointment at this point, at this time, and then we'll have a vote.
Point of order. Now we're going into point of order. No, okay,
That's what I was
basically,
saying.
I'm sorry, Kim, have you finished?
Hit your butt.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, with all due respect to what you're trying to do right here, if I was in the other 3 candidates, I'd file the biggest lawsuit there is. Okay? What you're trying to do here, you're trying to make this council do your job.
Yeah.
This
No,
not,
sir, I'm making an appointment, and Mr. Martin, if I may, the Larson Act calls for my appointment, and it calls for your confirmation.
okay, well, the question is, you say you got 4 people here.
And if we don't.
Okay, so, I mean, basically, and it's just a question. Have you spoken, and look, whoever gets the job, that's fine with me. I don't have any problem.
Yes, sir.
But the question I'm having, have you spoken to the firefighters?
Have I spoken to the firefighters? I
Right.
spoke to those 4 people that I don't understand what your point is.
In other words, all I'm asking is this. I mean, in my business, I know if I go to a certain, if there's someone to be hired, and let's say they all working in the crew together, but now I need a foreman. Well, I want to talk to the personnel to find out exactly how they feel about such and such. I'm not saying, look, one thing about this, whoever gets a job, I'm 100% behind. But I'm not going to pick and choose.
Mr. Martin, if I may, and I think I know the question you're asking. If I may, there were many, many recommendations from many, many people, but I still have to make a decision. I'm making that decision.
But the question I'm asking, you say there were many recommendations from who? Was it the firefighters themselves?
There were many people who made recommendations.
Well, I'm asking the question, were the firefighters consulted?
Yes, there were some that were consulted, absolutely.
So were they of the many?
Anyway, there were many constituents, there were many people Who made
Abstain.
recommendations? Okay, thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Reggie.
I'm not sure when you decided to make your 4 recommendations, or when you decided for the 4 people. Was there a way that you could have sent us maybe a resume or something ahead of time so we could have looked over?
We don't know.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean, it's
we,
hard.
all of these people are qualified for the job, all of them, because first of all, you have to take the test, you have to pass the test, you have to have been a captain. I'm sure there's a little bit more criteria, and it, you know, I have to make a decision. So I am making a decision, and I just called for Mr. Luis Romero at this point, and to call for a roll call.
I think it shortchanged the other 3. If we decide to pick this one, then the other 3 now we have to take.
Yeah, that would be any of the case, Mr. Burbidge. I mean, what,
I mean, you want us to make a decision right now, just for the name you picked out.
I have to, Mr. Burbidge, I have to make an appointment, and you.
So if we say, if the council agree to say no on everybody, you gotta come up with some more names.
Yes, sir, I have to come up with it. Mr. Craig.
Okay, I think what you did, you kind of muddied the water for us when you said you have 4 people here, and if we don't confirm the first one, then you'll go to the next one.
No, sir, I did not say that.
I'm just saying, and I'm trying to help you, Tim, so just bear with me just for a second, please. And so, you know, had you just said, my appointment is Luis Romero, and then let us vote on it, I think it would have been so much simpler, but when you said, I got 3 other people here, if you don't confirm it, you kind of muddied the water. So just make it clear that your appointment is Luis Romero, and then that's it, and then we'll go on from there, okay?
My appointment is Luis Romero.
Thank you.
Where's Mr. Root? Is he in the audience? Can you take the podium, please?
Who you asking?
I'm actually, well, I mean, if we're gonna make.
You want to ask a question? You want to talk? You want to answer?
No, just let him be seen by
Okay.
whomever. That's
Mr.
his
Romero, can you come to the podium, please?
This is correct. Okay. All right, so, and I'm just asking the question here. So this, Mr. Romero, is who you picked out of the 4, correct?
Out of the 8?
Out of the 8?
Out of the 8.
However you want to look at it. Yes, sir. He is my appointment at this time.
Okay, we were just told by another firefighter that if you don't pick this one, you go to the next one, and you agreed with him. But yet, Clint just asked you, and you said no. It's not, I didn't say that.
no. I'm making an appointment at this time, Mr. Romero,
Okay.
and I'm asking for your confirmation, yea or nay. Okay? Roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Jeff Cavell,
Yes.
Brad Cord,
Yes.
Clint Crater,
Yes.
Lyle Fogelman,
Yes.
Vernon Martin,
I'm gonna vote, but I want to make a statement.
Turn your mic.
Okay. And this is the statement right here. You put a pool of people inside this arena. I'm gonna call it arena because that's what it sounded like now. We have to do this because you're not recommending nobody else. Am I understanding you?
At this time, right now, my appointment is Mr. Luis Romero.
And once again, you're not recommending nobody else.
I can't recommend anybody else right now. I am recommending Mr. Luis Romero.
Okay, I just want to make it clear to everyone.
And you did.
Because listen, if that's your recommendation, then we have no choice but to follow unless we have a reason not to vote for this person.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're also putting us in a predicament here because we just had another firefighter that was on the list, if I'm not mistaken. Was he on the list? I just want to do this fair and just. You understand? I just want to do it fair and just. Okay? I have no problem with Mr. Romero. I have no problem with him whatsoever. Okay? But it's putting me, I'm speaking for me right now. If it was another cause, I'm just abstaining from this because I don't understand exactly what went down. Okay, you have, and it was mentioned, now unless I'm wrong, I might have heard wrong, I want y'all to clarify. When the question was asked, we just had another firefighter, Mr. Marcel, say that if you don't pick the first one, then the second one comes. Okay? And you agree. But when Clint asked you the question, you said you didn't say it. You know, because basically what you've done right here, and I want to give it to you like it is, you put us in a predicament here that, and to be quite honest with you, we should have went into executive session, to be honest with you. That's what it should have been. We're hiring an employee for the city that oversees another civil service matter. It should have been in public, in executive session.
Mr. Martin, I want to apologize. I didn't want to confuse anything.
What
I
you
just
did?
wanted to explain it.
Right.
If Buddha's the next fire chief, obviously he's going to do a damn good job.
I know he will. I know he's a good person. I know
I
he will.
just wanted to explain the process because it's not normal. But I will tell you that I will take the job for the minimum pay, and I'm the only one that's offered to do that.
You see, that's the most. But look, but he's on it. I just want to make it clear to you, man. This will help you out. It's just the only one that you recommend.
Vote on the floor.
Call a vote. Call a vote. All right, call the question. Mr. Martin? Call the question.
Well, that's the only one you recommended. Yes, I'm voting for it. I have no problem with that.
Thank you.
Stephen Primo,
Yes.
Sammy Reggie,
Sure, yes.
Kim Stringfellow,
Yes.
and Byron Woodridge.
Like, put off our mic.
Oh, I'm sorry, this thing is, I'm sorry,
It's not working.
Who's the culprit?
Congratulations.
Try, Mr. Bowden. It's on.
I don't understand what's going on.
Vote.
Yes or no?
Yea or nay?
All I know, Mr. Rivera from Adam, but you make a decision that you ain't even gave us the paperwork to understand to make a decision.
Isn't there a discrepancy? Someone said about pay? Look, I'm gonna leave that alone.
Mr. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What's that, Madam Clerk?
He voted yes.
I'm not sure. Okay. Right.
9 yeas.
How many?
9.
9 yeas. And Mr.
Congratulations,
Romero,
brother.
Congratulations, Boo.
Mr. Romero, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Congratulations.
I want to thank the mayor and the council. Thank y'all for entrusting me with the chief job for the fire department, and I look forward to working with y'all. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Mr. Court?
Yes.
Yes, you may continue.
A motion was offered by myself and seconded by Alderwoman Kim Stringfellow to table the action item recommending the resolution of the mayor and board of aldermen of the city of Crowley, Acadiana Parish, Louisiana, to amend the ordinance to remove school zone signs along Southeastern Avenue due to closure of Redemptor School, as the school is being used for religious educational purposes. The motion carried, and I so move.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Porter, seconded by Mr. Martin. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Under non-action items, Chief of Police Julie Broussard presented the monthly police department report. It reported the police department received 1,059 calls for service since last reported. There will be a curfew in effect from dusk to dawn starting Friday, October 9th, due to Hurricane Delta. And I understand that that has been terminated as of today, tonight. Interim Fire Chief Terry Romero presented the monthly fire department report. Tony Duhon, city inspector, reported he issued 8 new construction permits and a demo permit for property on West 9th Street. An update on efforts by Cologic to address software issues was provided by Sergeant Nick Penn of the Crowley Police Department. The Crowley Police Department is still facing the same issues, and officers are using valuable time trying to get reports done. He feels the company is not cooperating and has not assisted the police department in getting the software to work. Sergeant Penn will provide the city attorney with details of the problems they're having with Cologic and ask him to look into the matter of Cologic honoring their contract with the Crowley Police Department. Chief Broussard will send an undercover unit with radar to perform a traffic study on the east end of Stoops Street. Alderman Byron Wildridge requested that whoever is responsible for cutting the grass near the railroad track and Marcel Thomas Avenue will be notified of the need to cut the tall grass. There was no further action to come before the Public Safety Committee, and the committee recessed.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Next is public buildings.
Mayor Kim had a question.
It's just, we're just reading a report here. Next, Mr. Woolridge, public buildings.
On the public buildings, I'd like to give the action item to my co-chair, Councilwoman Kim Franco.
Okay. Ms. Stringfellow?
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see, a motion was offered by myself and seconded by Alderman Crater to approve a resolution by the mayor and board of aldermen authorizing a lease to Smile Community Action Agency for office space in the Crowley Enterprise Center located at 11 North Parkerson Avenue to provide for the terms and conditions thereof and to provide for all matters relative thereto. Motion carried, and I so move.
Thank you, Ms. Stringfellow. Looking for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Cord, and I want to make record known that Mr. Woolridge did abstain from this. He does have a family member. Okay? Discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Hasn't this building been destroyed as a result of this hurricane for us to be entertaining some lease that it may not even be able to be occupied?
No, it has not been destroyed, it has been damaged.
Well,
But
okay, excuse
yes,
my
I'm
choice
sorry.
of words.
I'm sorry.
From what I understand, the occupants have had to vacate.
I'm not sure about that particular, and yes, there was some vacancies that did take place.
Okay, so I really don't know that this is the time to take this up. We don't have any idea what it's going to cost to address this building. We don't know what we have, what our options are.
We're waiting on the insurance adjusters. And
But, you know, it might be an economic thing that might need to be looked at, and we go lock ourselves into something that we cannot get out of, and we have no choice. We have no ability to make a feasible decision for the city. This building is a drain to begin with.
I move that we table this for the next
I
committee.
think the property's worth far more less the building, in my own personal opinion.
Okay, Mr. Cabell.
I'm not objecting. I'm not objecting. My concern is, what is the assistant going to do in the meantime? And where are they going to be
Is that who this is?
Smile.
That's Smile,
This is
sorry,
Smile.
This is another, so this is like a third
Third,
thing
yeah.
we're what we're
Are
talking
they,
about.
do they have the capability of going elsewhere?
That's what needs to be looked at.
Yes.
I don't think,
Mr. Martin?
I think we're at court full march right now.
Right now, I'm glad you brought it up about the building. This is the second time that the agency has been displaced. At the time when Hurricane Rita came here, the whole roof was taken off. And basically what happened was the assist agency became non-existent. Basically, there was no work being done and the citizens suffered. I agree with Lyle that we need to see some leasing anything, because at the end of the day, that building, this is the second, it has the roof been damaged? Do anybody know?
Yes.
So basically, you got creosote in that wood. And Jim, you know what I'm talking about. That water hit that wood, that building will be, that's it. The first time we got away with it, Mr. Havens done excellent job, repairing the roof. But I'm gonna tell you right now, that thing will be toxic from this time on. So I think the city of Crowley needs to look like, the part of the matter, it's time to take that building down. I don't think it's generating enough funds to basically, create a profit for the city.
It's
But-
not carrying itself.
Well, exactly. So I would think this, I mean, in the meantime, let's offer the people, we have a few other buildings.
There's an amended motion on the floor by Ms. Stringfellow to table
Table it
at this time
to next committee
to
meeting.
the next committee. Yes,
And I,
okay.
But if I may continue my discussion going on.
Yes,
I
sir.
think that we need to offer the tenants, other buildings that we have in the city. We got, what's that little building across the street? What is it, Depot, whatever? Wells Fargo, and the other, I think the only other building, who else occupies the building? There's only three of them, right?
There's three, actually four. There's four. There's
Someone just have a
Smile,
few offices.
Assist, Louisiana Workforce, and the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, well, I think we need to divide the properties that we have around the city, whether it be the, Martin Luther King Center, whatever it may be, to entertain this, because that agency right now is needed. This agency is needed right now. Okay, there's a lot going on, and it provides a lot. So just to be like what Lon had said, we need to look at turning that building into a parking lot. So like every time we have a major, storm, something gets damaged. And like I said, if it's not carrying itself, let's just get rid of it, just my opinion. Thank
Okay,
you.
Mr. Crater?
and actually, I found out that that building was actually damaged by Laura,
Yes.
that didn't get repaired, and then this one really took it.
Yes, the adjusters, we were waiting on the adjusters, and the adjusters finally came about a week ago. And then, here we go, round two. So the motion on the floor is a minute, Ms. Stringfellow, that we table to our next committee, and then we could get a whole lot more information by then. Okay? Seconded by Mr. Core, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
You can read the next one.
Under non-action items, discussion followed, the mayor's update on plans for the central fire station renovation and repair. The mayor announced he had 2 bids and was waiting for the third. The mayor stated a general contractor would be hired to do the necessary work, and he had not hired an architect. Alderman Core stated the council voted in November of 2019 to hire an architect as the project on a historical building, and the need to take into account the age of the building and the size of the new fire trucks are important issues an experienced architect should address. The mayor provided an update on the animal shelter and confirmed that the city employee at the animal shelter is on call 24/7. And before I say there was no other business, are we still at that same point with the firehouse, Mayor? We're still, there was no other business to come before the Public Buildings Committee? Yep, yes. Yes,
There is probably.
okay.
So, are we still, on point to hire, a GC for the building? Okay, I would request this, and it's just me, and I'm hoping everybody feels the same way. We have a GC in the city of Crowley. We have one. Well, I mean, one that we know, knows about historical buildings. And I know for a fact he have on staff his own architect. So I would hope that we look to Crowley first, and, well, I'm just gonna call out the name, because I've worked with this person, and I know the type of work they've done. They were the ones that went in, that done, and that's E.R. Harris. Okay, I'm hoping that we, use a reputable person that has this type of experience. My recommendation is just, Mr. Harris to get this, and be finished with it.
We still have to go through a bid process.
I understand it.
Okay, and the people that we do have bids from do have, like Mr. Martin said, and we're not gonna get into a discussion, we're just supposed to read the report. But like Mr. Martin said, they have an in-house architect. Okay? All right. We'll continue. I'm sorry.
There was no other business to come before Public Buildings Committee and the committee recess.
Just an FYI for you, I don't know if Terry told y'all, but there are still leaks in the roof.
There are new leaks, yes, sir, after the storm, he did inform me of that, and we're gonna get it.
And the windows also.
That's correct. Yeah. We didn't have any leaks until the storm. Okay, insurance and personnel. Ms. McDowell, again.
The Insurance and Personnel Committee convened last week. There were no action items. Under non-action items, Louis Romero, chairman of the Crowley Municipal Fire and Police Civil Service Board, presented a report. The board met and opened an investigation on a Crowley police officer who is currently on sick leave. Captain Romero, in response to a question from myself, stated there was a time frame for the appointment of fire chief, which is 60 days from the date the list of qualified applicants passed the test. He surmised the appointment should be made on or near October 11th. Council could ratify the appointment at the next council meeting. The mayor informed myself that we could discuss policies and procedures manual after Hurricane Delta. The mayor provided an update on rehiring city employees who were laid off due to COVID-19. He said one firefighter was rehired, but the other two found employment elsewhere. Once a budget for fiscal year 2020-2021 is passed, the mayor will address rehiring additional employees. There was no further business to come before the Insurance and Personnel Committee, and the committee recessed.
All right, thank you, Mr. Renfro. Next is Community and Economic Development. Mr. Reddy.
Thank you, Mayor. Community and Economic Development Committee convened Wednesday, October 7th, 2020 at 4 p.m. in the council chambers. Quorum was present. Under action items, there were none. Under non-action items, I read a report from Jill Havitz, Crowley Main Street Board President, which highlighted their past and upcoming events, including Sidewalk Saturday, Stores on Main, Art and Wine Stroll, and Taste of Crowley. I will say that we canceled the Wine and Art Walk.
I'm sorry?
The Wine and Art Walk is canceled because of the storm. So they're going to reschedule it, possibly December.
Okay, thank you.
There was no further business to come before Community and Economic Development Committee, and the committee recessed.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy. Next, Revenue and Finance, Mr. Cavell.
The Revenue and Finance Committee convened on Wednesday, October 7, 2020, at 4 p.m. in the council chambers. A quorum was present. Under action items, due to that was already discussed, was it not?
Yes.
Yes, that was the first one was already discussed. I
Yes,
don't need to read
it
that.
was discussed as well.
The second item, under, a motion was offered by myself and seconded by Alderman at Large Stephen Primo to consider ordinance 1511, an ordinance adopting, finalizing, and implementing the annual operating budgets of revenue and expenditures for the city of Crowley for fiscal year beginning September 1, 2020 and ending August 31, 2021, to provide for all matters relative thereto, and to repeal all ordinances or parts of ordinances inconsistent therewith or in conflict thereto. The motion carried, and I so move.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Cavell, seconded by Mr. Fogelman. Discussion? Mr. Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of questions on the budget. Under the cemetery budget, revenue and expenditure detail, under contract labor, $41,600. And it's my understanding that we have somebody that's doing that for $18,000 or $18,500. So I think that's probably a mistake that needs to be corrected, correct?
Yes.
It was, I looked up, or we talked about a price, and I took it as a weekly basis and not a monthly basis, so that's what I handled.
Thank you. All right. And on page 145, Ms. Aaron, maybe you could clarify something for me. Under the utility fund, where it says estimated actual 2019, 2020, change in net asset without depreciation, $430,546. That's actual profit that, or cash flow that the utility system made. Is that correct?
Say that again, I was flipping to the page.
Okay, page 145,
Okay, I have it,
under the estimated actual 2019-2020,
right.
change in net assets without depreciation is $430,546.
So we're estimating to end the year
Right.
with.
And I trust your estimates, I really do. And that's pretty much without the 20% increase that we put in there, which would add another, let's say, 300,000 to it. So now we're up to 750,000. So in order to get a 1-to-1, 1.1 sustainability, I guess we call it rate, but it's not actually a rate. We're only looking at about a $300,000 deficit, right? So I think we need to take that into consideration next week when we come up. And if you flip a couple more pages, if you look at gas and oil, it's a 150% increase. You have audit fees, 63.64% increase. Under engineering fees, a 20% increase. Telephone, internet cable, 165.96% increase. I think those things, people, really need to look at this budget before we discuss the sewer user fee increase when it comes up. But I just wanted to make those points. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question as well.
Yes, sir.
On the utility fund, same page, 145, under expenditure appropriations, other expense indicates $687,135. Can you tell us what that's for? Which is a 755% increase.
Isn't that?
145?
Yes.
145, the other expenses is,
The 687.
more than likely that's that
common.
commoner purchase. From the revenue's in there as the loan, and then the rest of that SRF loan and then the purchase of the common.
And on the spreadsheet, under combined totals, fiscal 2021 proposed budget, on the left column, over expenditures, if you go over, it indicates a $3.6 billion shortfall. I'm not sure if it seems to me it's a huge deficit there.
It sets up for the failure.
And I'm just trying to figure out how to get a balanced budget with such a huge.
Okay, that is, Mr. Carter, that is before transfers.
That's before any of your sales tax and stuff is transferred into those funds. Because all your transfers are in and outs or underneath that line.
Are you at the bottom line is $3.4 million.
So 3, that's,
I'm just trying to understand, because normally we have a balance sheet.
the negative, I see what he's talking about. I see what he's talking about. The negative 3.4 is the money that we're taking out of the infrastructure account for that drainage project that we haven't got the bonds yet for. So that money, it is a deficit because we are taking it out of the fund balance that's sitting there. And the other part of it is part of that depreciation that we cannot fund. If we go across the lines, at the bottom, the over-under with depreciation, you see the house and sales tax infrastructure has $2.7 million coming out of the fund balance,
I'm sorry, what column are you?
all the way,
Yeah.
right before the fund balance totals, it's right above it.